Trinidad and Tobago, citizens of the world who are paying attention to what's happening with us. On account of the very high and unacceptable levels of violence that subsists in our society, we, Trinidad and Tobago, lost 576 souls last year, as at December the 31st, 2023. Of that 576, 261 were as a result of gang confrontation. They call it war. I don't call it no war. As far as I'm aware, wars are for power and international influence, oil and gas, land, political ideology. We lost 261 lives due to gang warfare over turf. He from up there, he from down there, he from wrong there. Sometimes they have no idea what they're fighting over. It's going nowhere. Many of them don't have 2 cents to rub together. It just doesn't make sense. 261 of that 576. Equally bad. 49 of those were over petty altercations. That is to say, you accidentally knock over somebody's drink, or you match a boy nice sneakers, or some petty argument over a few dollars, over a bear, or going for a gun and come back, an argument over a woman, or argument over some other folly. "49 of them. In the realm of domestic violence, we lost 28 of those 576, 11 between intimate partners, as happened in this year, involving the soldier. That matter is now under investigation. That represented our first double murder for the year 2024. But it is an example where persons, largely men, on account of the ego, cannot contain themselves, allow themselves to get carried away and feel that they are justified in doing what they have done, only to discover in a calmer moment, not long after, that the justification doesn't fit. And as for non-intimate violence, brother on brother, a couple of years ago, 2 brothers had an argument. One told the next, "I'm going and get a gun and come back." He murdered his brother. In addition to the very traumatizing losses, as I've previously explained, 68 lives were lost last year. 68 on account of drugs, drug turf, fights over drugs. Illegal in itself, unwholesome, unhealthy, good for nothing but the merchandisers, good for nothing but the pushers. 68 persons lost their lives around drugs. 60 persons lost their lives categorized by the police over revenge, hate, anger, wanting to settle scores. And that accounted for 60 souls in Trinidad and Tobago last year. 48 murders had to do with robbery. So persons would have gone to commit robberies, that is to say, to use violence, force, including arms, to take from others what you didn't work for, what belongs to others. First of all, it's a serious crime, but beyond that, it's just a sin. Because God didn't make you no hyena. didn't make you no thief. God made you a man or woman with brain, with hands, with feet, and with potential. David Rudder says you don't have to thief. You don't have to cheat to be a winner. You abandon all of this and you decide that you will bully your way into people's spaces and take what is theirs. 48 persons lost their lives on account of robbery. And finally, the police categorized as unknown 60 of them. In other words, they could not ascertain the most probable cause. Altogether, we lost 576 persons in Trinidad and Tobago last year, mostly citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, in a few cases, are visitors who we should welcome, who we should protect, who we should understand spend money to make life better for our economy and for us, and to employ your aunt, your sister at the Hyatt, at the Hilton, and wherever else in Trinidad and Tobago they may take up temporary residence as they add value to our economy with their tourist dollar. So, brothers and sisters, I give you the assurance as Minister of National Security. I'm advised that certain operations are underway by the police. We continue to work to strengthen, to tighten our borders. The police are engaged in very aggressive gun retrieval exercises, trying to mop up, to take up these guns and ammunition that are responsible for at least 90% of the murders last year and for previous years. As well, the police are very much involved in targeting gangland players, what they call prolific offenders, known to them, targeting them in order to try to bring some semblance of peace and sanity back to this land. And at the same time, the government in its whole of government approach is engaged in creating more and more and more easy to access opportunities for all of our young people, so that you will find pathways to realizing yourself and your potential rather than having to become involved in crime and criminality, and worse still, in so doing, having to become a victim of someone of your peers' crimes or criminality. I am hoping, as law enforcement ramps up its activity to repelling crime and violence, taking out the guns, securing our borders, mashing up the gangs, I am hoping that our behaviors would be a little more civilized, a little more social, a little kinder, a little gentler, a lot less intemperate, a little more patient, a little more caring, so that we can resolve our differences, which are quite normal with human beings, in a civilized manner without having to resort to the levels of violence.